All right, welcome back, everyone. Let me see how many here. Hi, London. Okay, so as I was saying before we got cut off, right? Yeah, so basically, we know that, okay, so we know that lymphocytes produce antibodies, right? But the thing about it is that here, through this diagram, we are actually able to see how the antibodies actually are made inside the cell and how they get from inside to outside. So it's not like, the cell just tosses them out. It has an actual, a very disciplined system of getting the antibodies out of the cell to bind to the antigens of the pathogens. All right. So they are made um, they are made by the endoplasmic reticulum. Then once they are made, they enter into the little vesicles, the tiny vacuoles inside the cell, and then through these vacuoles, they actually go to the edge of the cell, to the end of the cell, where you have the cell membrane. It combines to the cell membrane and an opening is formed, which allows now the contents, which would be the antibodies, to leave from inside the cell to outside. All right. Again, it's like a PTS bus system. All right. Or like your subway in New York City or wherever. All right. Getting from point A, the terminal, which is the endoplasmic reticulum, to the outside of the cell. All right, where it will then be released and it will bind on to the pathogens and it will destroy them by either alerting the phagocytes or, you know, triggering the chemical reactions. Okay. All right. So the next part of the question was for you to wanted you to name one other type of cell other than a lymphocyte, so another white blood cell that is involved in the defense of the body against pathogens, and you had to describe its role. Mhm. So what would be the name of it and what would be the rule, basically? You can type your answers, I'll see it. Because remember, we learned about two types of white blood cells. Excellent. Phagocytes, right? We learned about phagocytes and we learned about lymphocytes, right? Deja beat you to the draw, Emily. Yeah, Jade, you are correct. You are correct, Jade. You said macrophages, and macrophages are correct because macrophages are a type of phagocytes. All right, so that answer is correct. And when the role, you all would have had to outline, just briefly outline, that the role of the phagocytes or whatever is to engulf the pathogens, all right, and then destroy it by a process known as phagocytosis. So you would have to have the word engulf in your explanation as well as phagocytosis. All right, just that basically. And as for that part of the question was with 1 mark because it's 1 mark for the name and 1 mark for the rule. All right, so phagocytosis or and that it engulfs the bacteria, and you didn't have to go into detail to talk about how the phagocytes, after they engulf the bacteria or the pathogens, they secrete enzymes which will, destroy it, and then they digest the remnants. You didn't have to go into all of that detail because it's just for 1 mark, right? But yeah, excellent. Everybody got that answer correct, basically. So excellent job, you guys. All right, now the next part of the question was talking about type 1 diabetes. So remember, we spoke about type 1 diabetes being an autoimmune disease. So even with all of this the coronavirus, right? Persons who are diabetic, type 1 and type 2 diabetes, who poorly manage their diabetes and all of that, they are at a great risk for, having severe symptoms of the virus. So, type 1 diabetes is considered to be an autoimmune disease because, remember, hmm, oh, sorry, I was typing that in the wrong place. Sure, Lyndon, I'll take the role. All right, so remember, persons who have type 1 diabetes, their immune system, what happens to their immune system? It is a what? What does the immune system do that causes type 1 diabetes? Let me see who remember. I feel like it's the wild, wild west. Everybody waiting on who to draw now. hmm Exactly. So the immune system attacks the pancreas. But what specifically in the pancreas? A group of cells, right? A group of beta cells. So we're going to actually get more in depth into that today as well. Now, right, so it attacks a group of beta cells in the pancreas, which are responsible for producing insulin. And as a result of that, your body is not able to absorb glucose. All right. So the pancreas is correct. That is the organ that is attacked by the immune system to cause that type 1 diabetes. Right? And the part two of that question, which speaks about antibodies being a part of the immune system, and they wanted you to describe how the antibodies function. Basically, that answer would be quite similar to part one. All right. So just as how you would talk about when a pathogen enters to the body, it alerts your lymphocytes and how your lymphocytes are actually um, able to reproduce themselves via mitosis, or a type of cell division called mitosis. And let me get the answer so you could follow along. Right. Right, so it's able to divide via mitosis, and once they divide, they secrete the antibodies with specific shapes, which would bind onto the antigens, and they would either alert the phagocytes to destroy them, or they would trigger a series of chemical reactions, which would enable they themselves to destroy the pathogens. All right, so basically, answer for one and that last question, part two of number four, have been correct, right? And also to add, for part one and number four, the group of beta cells would be called the islets of Langerhans, which we will talk more about today. But I just included it there so that you'll be able to combine your knowledge of two to accurately answer the question, right? And that's basically it. But excellent job for those of you who handed in your work. Excellent job. You all did really well. It's just one or two tweaks in your answer. Other than that, we good to go. Yeah. Does anybody have any question?
No.
Wonderful. Okay. So once we have no questions, we'll move on now. So I'm going to share the PowerPoint for today. Well, one of the PowerPoints for today. We have two for today. I divided it into two. All right. All right. So we're talking about homeostasis and temperature control today. We're also going to talk about osmoregulation and excretion. All right. So no, I don't think it was sent in the group chat. No, you mean on the CTS bio group chat? If that is the case, then no. But I'll send it there from now on, right? As well as the PDF files that I have with the notes on all of this topic, right? So I'll send it to the self. Okay. All right. So we spoke about lymph and tissue fluid, right? We spoke about how remember your cells need to be kept in a particular environment in order for them to function properly. We said remember we spoke about all of these things when we were doing lymph and tissue fluid, yeah? All right. So what happens is that your cells are in an environment, just as how you all are pupils and you all are students and you all come to learn in the environment of CTS college. That is how you think of your cells being in the environment of your tissue fluid like that. All right. So what happens is that you know how you'll like okay, even okay for everybody, all right, in order for learning to take place, you have to be comfortable. You have to there are certain things that need to take place or certain factors in the environment that would contribute to you being able to function effectively. So, like for example, you're in class and let's just say, okay, it has no air condition and you can't open any windows whatsoever. And the place is just unbearably hot. It's like 12 noon, midday hot sun, the peak of everything. And you can't, I mean, you can't get any type of air or anything. You try to bring a fan, but it's blowing hot breeze, right? That is an example of how that environment could hinder your learning, right? If that were the case, right? But you'll have downlighters, you'll have, main fluorescent lights, you'll have your downlighters, you have air condition, you have two air condition in the classroom, you have comfortable chairs, all right? They changed out the chairs and stuff just to make you all comfortable. So all of these factors help you to be comfortable so that you all could learn, so that you all could function in that particular environment. All right. So, just as how all of these things contribute to your learning and your overall functioning, is the same way your cells now will be able to function and carry out the activities that they need to carry out in order for your body to actually function at its best. All right. So, that is the whole purpose why it is we need to regulate this environment now. So we spoke about the tissue fluid. Now we're going to talk about the environment that this tissue fluid provides for the cells. All right. So basically, yes, your cells are all surrounded by this liquid. Everything that your cells will have need of in order to carry about its metabolic reactions and all of this is provided by this tissue fluid. All right. And by the lymph. Okay. So what happens is that okay, after remember we spoke about how your food, after it's digested and it's absorbed, it is dissolved in the blood plasma and carried throughout your body. And this plasma, when it leaks out of your blood capillaries, goes to surround its cell. So, and that is the way in which your cells receive the nutrients. All right. So Excuse. So let's go now to talk about how it is, besides providing the cells with, food and nutrients and all of that, what else? All right. And why is all of this important? Besides the whole, besides the whole fact that it provides the cells with the nutrients, besides, maintaining an environment, why is all of this important? All right, how does this actually contribute to the cells doing their work, to the cells functioning? Okay, so we're going to delve into that right now. So basically, what you all need to know are these points. You need to be able to explain the importance of homeostasis, state how it occurs in humans and animals. We need to learn about the structural components of the skin, describe the role and function of the skin in regulation of temperature. So we're going to look at mechanisms that your body puts in place when it is too hot versus when it is too cold. We're going to identify nerve responses and the function of the hypothalamus of your brain when temperatures fall or rise. We're going to learn about terms such as vasodilation, vasoconstriction. We're going to learn about more about diabetes and how glucose levels can be increased or decreased within the body and the hormones responsible for that. So we're going back into diabetes now, and we are going to talk about how the blood glucose level is regulated. Because remember, well, we're talking about this again because after your food is digested and all of that, remember the end product for your carbohydrates would be glucose, right? And then remember, it is the glucose in your blood that your cells would utilize in order to release energy from respiration. So, if it is your blood does not have enough glucose, you will not be able to carry out your functions. You'll feel tired because your body doesn't have enough glucose to actually provide you with the energy that you need to do what you need to do. All right. But of course, on the flip side, too, if your body has too much glucose, what are the mechanisms put in place by your body to actually prevent this from, reaching higher than high norms or levels, all of these things? Okay. So, this is what we're going to delve into right now into this presentation. And when we are finished, we'll get into the other parts of the presentation. All right, at least we'll start it and we'll see how far we could get to. All right. I also have some videos for you all to watch as well. So we'll get into that at the appropriate times. Okay. Now we're gonna talk about reptiles first off, and the creatures that are not able to control their body temperatures as we would. Okay, so what happened? We're going to talk about marine iguanas. All right, so you have your smaller iguanas that would be able to get their food from feeding on the rocks, and the larger ones who would have to, dive into the sea in order to get more seaweed and so forth. Now, what happens is that in the case of the iguana that has to dive into the sea, temperature will begin to fall because you would notice the deeper you would go. Obviously, remember, light and heat wouldn't really be reaching there depending on how far it is you go. That is why you have marine snow. Like if it is y'all ever, I don't know if y'all probably watch documentaries about the Titanic, and even if you'll recall in the Titanic movie itself, right? They actually had how you call it? They had raw footage of how when they discovered the Titanic ship and where they discovered it, right? So if it is you'll remember this, you would see that the ship and where the ship actually sank, it has what is called marine snow. All right, that marine snow is like snow, all right, just underwater, but wouldn't be as we have it here, which would be like ice crystals. But it's a different type, and the reason why you have marine snow is because in that particular part of the ocean, it is so deep and sunlight and stuff cannot penetrate there, so it wouldn't be able to warm the water. So therefore temperature would be really really cold down there, and that is why it would be able to, preserve the. Yes, it looked cloudy, it looked mucky, but it's actually covered with marine snow as well. And you all would have seen it if you after you all could go back on YouTube and you all could see like when they actually were venturing with the probe, you would have seen something kind of fallen like, and it would actually look snowy, and that is what it is. That's snow. Okay, so because of how cold it is, so I just really saying all of that to say that the deeper you all go is the colder things going to get. All right, now in the case of iguanas, they do not have built-in mechanisms within their bodies to actually warm them up. So that is why for reptiles like iguanas, even alligators, crocodiles, all right, they will actually have to sit out in the sun to warm up, and then when they want to cool down they go back in the water, and then they have to come back up again, and that is how it goes. Okay, so what happened is that these creatures, yes, now right, these creatures are what we call ectothermic creatures. All right, ecto meaning external, that's the second part of the definition there. Ecto means external.
Excuse me, miss, you could just go back for a second, please.
Sure. All right,
Thank you.
no problem. Right, so your reptiles are considered to be ectothermic. Ecto meaning external, and thermic meaning how heat is derived. So basically, these reptiles, like the marine iguanas, would have to get their warmth from the sunlight. So then they will have to bask in the sun, and in order to warm up. But we, on the other hand, like mammals, we have built-in mechanisms where our bodies can actually warm itself. All right, so we are considered to be endothermic. All right, no problem. So I'm switching it now, right? Yeah, so we are endothermic. So endo means within. So therefore, that means that our heat and everything that, will either warm us up or cool us down all functions within us. Okay. So we're going to learn about how our body has these mechanisms and adaptations to keep us warm and to keep our body temperatures at the right temperature that it should be, which is about 37 degrees Celsius. All right. Um, so yeah, that is what so homeostasis in is what involves all of this. Homeostasis is just basically maintaining a good or the right type of environment internally so that your cells can actually function as they should. All right. Right. So these are the differences between endothermic and
Miss, you could go back, please.
sure, sorry. All right. So yeah. Well, the next slide is just outlining the differences, the main differences between endothermic and ectothermic. And throughout here, you all are going to learn why it is you shiver when you are cold and why it is you sweat when you are hot. All right. I did mention it briefly. I did, meaning that I mentioned sweating a bit briefly. I remember when we were discussing something. All right. So we're going to learn about how your body oh boy. All right, no problem. All right, so we're going to learn about how it is your body actually provides this internal environment that is needed. Okay, so these are the main differences. This is the next slide after this one, right? The differences between endothermic and ectothermic. Yeah, Dimitri, shoot your question. Hmm, that's a good question. Do reptiles live in colder climates like Alaska? Let me check that one out. I can't answer that one offhand. I doubt to know. Or they might have to have special ones. Just now, Nah, yeah. Most reptiles would really. Mm-hmm. Well, what happened is that most of the reptiles would really require temperature that is just not too cold, not too high. All right, because remember they maintain their body temperature from the outside. All right, so when it is now, so if it is like, for example, a particular reptile is like, for example, a snake, when the temperature falls too low, it wouldn't move at all. So even though you would have like snakes in those countries as well, they would go into hibernation or they just wouldn't function when it's cold. All right. Other than that, you may have other reptiles that would live in the cold, but they would have to have special mechanisms put in place. So, and then, yeah, remember you would have water snakes and so forth. So, okay. So, like in northern British Columbia, the winter weather is too cold for reptiles to be active in. So, if they stayed in the open, they would freeze to death. And what happened is that to live in the north, reptiles would have to find some way to avoid exposure to cold in winter. So, like for example, birds, well, they will they migrate to warmer places. All right. They might either, yeah, exactly. They might either go into hibernation or they would literally retreat to somewhere that would, be good enough for them to survive. So, yes and no, basically, to answer the question. Because like take for example turtles, right? They wouldn't be able to they would not be able to travel long distances as well, but they do migrate to warmer places, marine turtles. All right, so they go wherever they could, but other than that, they will just basically have to find coping mechanisms. All right. Hibernation sounds just about right. All right. Yeah, but you would have snakes, you would have lizards, you'll have other reptiles that would live there, but yeah, they will have to go elsewhere as well. Okay, no problem. Right? So maintaining endothermic entails maintaining the body temperature at 37 degrees Celsius so that enzymes could work efficiently no matter what the external temperature may be. So, however, the temperature is on the outside, you have to make sure that the inside, all right, is always at least at 37 degrees. It could be a little higher or a little lower, but nothing too much. Because if it is you drop too low, then what will happen is that your body will start to malfunction. You won't be able to your cells won't be able to carry out metabolic processes. Yeah, Regan?
Miss, which one are the advantages and disadvantages?
What study what?
Which one is the advantage and which one is the disadvantage?
For what? Being endothermic versus being ectothermic?
Yeah.
Okay, well, these both of them that I have up here are just differentiating between endothermic and exothermic, right? So what happens is that the benefits of being endothermic is that you don't have to physically go to warm up yourself unless you live in a really, really cold climate where you have to have bonfires and so forth, and firesides and heaters inside your house and thermal gear to heat up yourself or to aid your body then. But yeah, you don't have to actually physically just go and bask in the sun. All right. So you and then we get our yeah, so we get our heat from respiration and when it is your body shivers, all of these things produces heat. All right. So basically, I would say that is a major advantage of being endothermic. All right. Um, the ectothermal animals, on the other hand, as I have it here, they don't need to eat a lot of food, because of what happens is that they will go on hunt, they will get their food, and then their body will slowly process that, and they wouldn't need food again for like the next couple of hours. Or like, for example, let's take into consideration the anaconda, all right, or snakes. When a snake eats something or swallows a whole animal whole, right, it will take a while for that to process. All right. So if it eat today, it may not have to eat until 2 days from now, 3 days from now, depending. All right. So it wouldn't have to eat a lot of food as compared to us. We have to eat at certain intervals. All right. Because of how our body works. And the once we nourish ourselves properly, our cells will continuously have that supply of nutrients that it needs, and then metabolic processes will be able to be carried out, and we will be able to get our internal heat in that manner. But because of the fact that an ectothermic creature doesn't have this process, it will not need to eat so much food. All right. And it could remain inactive. If the temperatures get too cold, nothing would happen really, because it would have a food store inside of them. um so yeah, and well, yeah, basically I would say they are to disadvantage in that regard. All right, but I mean, remember, we are all designed to work in different atmospheres, different spheres of life. So for them now, of course, there's nothing. But if we try to go and be ectothermic, it wouldn't really work out now. All right, because you lay in the sun, you get sunburn. We know this from when it is you go to the beach and you just lay down basking there, you'll get sunburn. Your body temperature might get too hot. So we don't really work like that. We have to maintain it at a regular constant. All right. Even with an ectothermic creature as well, if the temperatures are way too hot or way too cold, it will be inactive. So you will notice that snakes cannot function, as you was just saying, snakes cannot function in the cold. They hibernate, all right? And well, I mean, when temperatures are too hot, our body initiates its own responses to cool down the body temperatures. That is why we sweat. But with an ectothermic creature now, it will have to actually source out a way for it to actually cool down its temperature. All right. Hope I answered the question, Reagan.
Yeah, miss. I was just confused about like I thought it was like differences
Oh,
between it.
yeah, yeah. This is just highlighting the differences and the you know, just basically what will identify a creature as being
Yeah.
endothermic versus ectothermic. All
Okay,
right.
miss. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Yeah, so because of our self-maintenance, we can remain active continuously because our body naturally regulates itself. So think of it like a car. If the car didn't have a coolant mechanism, right, or even a computer, all right, now they have liquid coolant and nitrogen and all kind of thing that they would run throughout a computer system to help, reduce the heat, to take away the heat, right? But if it is a car or a computer didn't have these heat reducing mechanisms, you think you would be able to run it for long? Please look at how when it is you had to refill coolant into your car, or when something isn't working properly, your radiator or whatever, right? Your car will overheat, and then you pull aside at the side of the road, and when you pop your bonnet, a whole bunch of steam blow off in your face. All right. In some cases, some of them who try to remove the cap could get burned as well, where they have all the coolant because it's so hot, right? And then coolant spill all over, right? People just get bad with that, But anyhow, so you have to have these coolant mechanisms, and if it is you want to keep working, all right? So that's how
Excuse me,
we.
miss.
Hmm.
What does the last line on the endothermic side say after therefore will need to eat a lot more? Because I can't see it.
Mm. Oh, I can't see it.
No.
This part of it cut off.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
lama.
just that last piece.
All right. That's not right. Therefore, we'll need to eat a lot more than ectothermic animals. That part?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I could go back.
All right. No problem. All right, Jade. When you mean zoom in, like keep it full screen as I had it, like this. This one is okay. Everybody's seeing it full screen as it is, right? Or part of. Uh-huh. No, what you were saying is that part of it had cut off now. But how I have it on the screen, everybody sees it, okay? All right. Okay, cool. Wonderful. All right, so this meeting going to cut off in 2.5 minutes. So let me just explain the next part briefly, and we'll continue. Well, I'll have to end the meeting and start it over, unfortunately. All right, so basically, as I outlined before, all of that is what homeostasis involves. Just maintaining a constant internal environment by keeping constant temperature, glucose, and water concentration. All right, so we were just,
Yeah, yo, I sent you the picture of it already though.
Hania, your mic's still on, sweetie.
Oh, sorry, miss.
That's okay. Thank you. Right. So by maintaining a constant temperature, we were just talking about how reptiles do it, and we have to get more into how humans do it because we have to actually learn how your skin is able to adapt to different temperatures. We at the end we're going to learn about how your body controls blood glucose concentration, and we have to talk about water concentration. So remember, we know that it is essential for water to be absorbed and sent throughout your body. And if the concentration, what happens is that if the water concentration is too low, all right, outside the cell, your cells become dehydrated because water from inside the cell leaves to go outside of the cell in osmosis. All right. So we have to learn about all of that. But when it is you think about homeostasis, think about all of this. All right. So with that, we're gonna just pause. I'm going to restart the meeting because it's going to cut off in less than a minute. All right. Same meeting ID, same meeting password we using to log on. Okay. I know that it's very annoying, but I just kindly ask that you bear with us because yeah, there's kind of like what we have to work with. So we'll see how we could improve this. All right. So I'll see you all in a bit.